and told me he was an AI version of me and was taking over my job. We live in a truly weird and amazing time. But speaking of amazing, today and tomorrow, you'll get to see amazing talks from some of the best devs in our community. You'll share meals with your peers, make friends, maybe ask some questions at the Ask an Expert table, or talk about job ops at the special networking zone tables that you'll find at each of the meals. You'll party like rock stars. A special shout out to our amazing sponsors, Coalesce Solutions, X-Byte Hosting, Fusion Reactor, Media3, Host Tech, Tech Versant, Foundio, Ortus Solutions, and RIS Web Services for partnering with us on this incredible journey. And finally, don't forget that tomorrow after lunch, you'll be laughing till your bellies hurt when Andy Buckley from The Office shares his amazing stories with you during the Day 2 keynote.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I hope you had a good breakfast and you're all doing good. So, welcome to Adobe ColdFusion Summit 2023. Earlier this year, we had ColdFusion Summit East. That was my first ColdFusion Summit I was attending, and it was really great. I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to interacting many of you in person today and tomorrow. Let's see who all are here. Many of you have been kind of part of this summit before. 10% year on year, so that is a good place to be for the product. This is how the new accounts we are getting. So again, similar trajectory, about 10% year on year, it is growing, and it just matches the revenue what we have. This is the graph or the chart we have for new customer acquisition in last 1 year. So you can see that pretty much all geos we have covered except Africa bit, and then there is a white patch on the right hand side, that is Russia. It's embargoed there, so we can't sell in Russia. So pretty much everywhere you can see that people are buying ColdFusion and new customers are getting acquired. And this is the graph for our leads. So in a sales cycle, you have a leads, which is the leading indicator, and then revenue and the new customer acquisition, so that is the trailing indicator. That is when everything concludes. So from a leads perspective also, I think the business is doing really well. And you can see this is a quarter number. Earlier I showed you was the yearly graph. So it's a little different, but you can little zigzag, but you can see that it is continuously on the upward trend, right? So from that perspective too, businesses are doing well. So let me recap our product, what we have done for the last couple of releases, 21 and 23 particularly. So this is our mission statement. So we want to be a platform of choice for cloud native microservice service applications. Right? ColdFusion has been known for ease of use. We don't want to do any compromise there, so that is what our USP is. And we don't want our users to get locked into any particular cloud. So whatever solutions we are providing, so we have the abstraction layer, and that supports multiple clouds. So we support AWS, we support Azure. Earlier this year, we gave support for Google Cloud as well. So all three major players we are supporting. And what we did is, like, across the entire application lifecycle, we added features pretty much everywhere to take care of all those functionality and all the features and what you need to develop the applications. So let me go a little deeper in some of them. So most of you would know what is the microservices and a container is, but let me explain a little bit. So earlier all the applications were monolithic, all functionality were there in a single stack. Now service-oriented architecture came and then microservices followed. So you kind of take out the functionality and build a smaller server, right, for that particular functionality. It's easier to maintain, it's more agile, and so on. So I'm not getting into the benefits of that. So you build a smaller applications. So for example, login can be a one service. So you want to provide a login service, it can be a one microservice which is running separately. Then container comes. Container is kind of for that particular service, whatever the environment is needed to run, you put that in a container. And so container works as a mini machine, if I can use that word. And all the functionality needed to run that is part of it, right? So microservices and container. So what advantage will it have? For example, you have a surge of logins early in the morning. So you can spin up various containers, right? And then you can scale horizontally. And toward the evening or night, you don't have that requirement for login or any of those things, so you can reduce the number of containers which you have. And then you can optimize the cost, you can optimize the scale, and so on. So for both these, the various parameters come into the play. So what we did was, our installer was monolithic, we kind of made it modular. So you have a core component, and then there were like 50 different packages. We separated it out, and then you can pick and choose. So for your microservice or service you are building, so you can have a much smaller footprint for that, and that will help you in various aspects. For example, our installer size, the core installer, reduced by 90%. So it was 1.5 GB, and it came down to 146 MB. Right, so you can see that, and now using that you can build your microservices. Container will run much faster. Disk space for the installer reduced by 66%, and then your memory footprint reduced by 70%, and the startup time, because you want your container to spin up as fast as possible, startup time improved by 4 times, right? It got better by 4x. So that is what we did to kind of aid our users for microservices oriented architecture. And then we provided everything around that as well. For example, installer, we provided as a zip installer, command line based way to install the packages and so on, and then more tools around automation and CI/CD pipeline. So if you are building a cloud native application, it makes sense to use the cloud based services as well, which is like mentioned at the bottom. It's easier to configure, it's easier to maintain, it's easier to scale, and so on. So when we provided a cloud solution, connected on abstraction layer for all these services as well. So you don't have to get into a nitty-gritty, you can just use the services you want. And then the container for all these 3 clouds, and then performance monitoring tool to monitor across all those clouds. HTML to PDF is one of our most used feature. What we did was we provided a new engine over there. And new engine is capable of a CSS3 standard, right? So you can do pretty powerful things over there, CSS3, HTML5, and JavaScript. So whatever you could do earlier, for example, your catalog, your marketing collaterals, your reports, other things you could print, you can still do the same and with much more power. And for both print and electronic delivery. So both are well supported. And here you see one example, that is the HTML5 canvas. So if you have anything, the canvas is getting printed. So that is one example we have. This is SVG. So SVG is getting rendered as a PDF. So that is another example. Here you see on the left hand side is a CSS grid. On the right hand side is the flex box. So CSS flex, so whoever is aware of CSS, you would know that these are advanced capability for layouting. So you can use all these in the new engine which we have provided. So security has been one of our top priority, if not the topmost priority. And we take care of that in all our development life cycle. So many of you will be aware of PCERT. PCERT is the industry-wide term known, so that is the full form given over there. And every company maintains a team which handles the security incidents. Right? And so Adobe also has the PCERT team, and they work with us in our life cycle as well. So we take care of security in the entire product development life cycle. And how do we handle or take care of the PCERT issues? So PCERT, based on the severity, we have a 30-day SLA or 60-day or 90 days, right? And that is what, at the top, what you see is our life cycle or the standard process, how we take care of that. So once it is recorded, triaged, and then the PCERT team keeps following up with the team that, okay, how you are going to handle these, and then they follow up on the timeline as well. But there is a 0 day as well. 0 day is like immediate release, and that is why it is called 0 day. And that has some extra steps. For PCERT, we don't notify our partners or do a PR or tell the publicly, but for 0 day we do. We say that we have received this particular vulnerability or this incident, and Adobe is working on that. So notify, PR, and publish advisory, those are the two extra steps in the middle you see, that is for 0 day vulnerability, and that is ASAP, right? So we have to take out the release as soon as possible. And for 2023 release, which went out I think June sometime, we already have 3 0-day patches. It's a little unfortunate, but those were reported, and then we released immediately 3 0-day patches so far. So how are we handling the security issues in a better way? So those were reactive approaches, whatever I said earlier. So if something is reported, you go and fix it. But how do you go and take care proactively? So what we are doing is we plan for releases in a year. So those are the planned releases we will have. And then whatever the security incidents are reported, we figure ourselves as well. We go and publish in those regular 4 releases. But other than that, we have started a bug bounty program. What that bug bounty program is, Adobe, that is Adobe's program. Adobe has started that program with a few of the products, not all products, which are critical from a security perspective, which has seen, like ColdFusion is one of them. And we work with external researchers. We incentivize them to go and find issues in the product. So we give them make the products available to them. They go and proactively kind of find issues or find security gaps in the product and then report to us. We triage those issues, and then after that our life cycle is same as PCERT life cycle. So 30 days, 60 days or 90 days. So we put that and then we release those. And all these researchers or even PCERT gets issues from external third-party researchers. And if we don't release the patch in 60 days, 30, 60, 90 days, then they make that vulnerability public, right? So that is what happens. The researcher will say that they will go public with that particular issue if the Adobe doesn't fix the patch, right? So that is how it works. So we have a reactive, if it is there, we go and take care of that, but we are working proactively on the security measures as well. On the language side, we added quite a few features. In 23, we added GraphQL. So this optimizes if any server is supporting GraphQL APIs, So you can optimize the query, it will be more performant, it will network latency will be better because you don't get all the data. You can very fine tune what kind of a data you want from your query. Java raw support, so if you have your own Java module, you can work or get that thing integrated very effectively with ColdFusion, so that is what we did. Parallelization, so we introduced some tags where you can process a data in parallel for some of the data structures like array and so on. So you can do that. Earlier you could do that with async and CF threads and so on, but we have introduced a tags which makes it easier to deal with it. Okay, so now we will have a few customers come up and speak